And on to the last section of the year. We are doing the surface area of a sphere. Rhyme intended. Not really. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. And so, let's go ahead and draw a sphere over here. If the surface area is 4 pi r squared, then what is the surface area of a hemisphere? Well, you could think of the top half of a sphere, or of a hemisphere, is a sphere. So the top part is 2 pi r squared, because it's half of a sphere. But then we also have to add on the circle on the base, which is pi r squared. And what's 2 pi r squared plus pi r squared? Well, that equals 3 pi r squared. So the surface area of a hemisphere is 3 pi r squared, and the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. Let's go ahead and use that in some problems. We'll just skip this one. Oh, whatever, we'll do this one. Okay. So it says the spherical water tank is 21.5 feet in diameter. So the diameter is 21.5, which means that the radius is 10.75. Yeah, I think that's right. So we're going to plug that into our surface area formula, which is 4 pi r squared. And I was not prepared, so let me get a calculator out here. All right, I'm just going to write this in terms of pi. 4 times 10.75 squared. So 462.25 pi inches squared, because we're talking about surface area. And then if we want to round to the nearest tenth or whatever, then you just multiply by pi. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to composite figures. Now, when we're talking about composite figures, we want to write down what each of the pieces are. So our surface area is made up of a hemisphere, but these bases are covered up by each other. However, there's a base on the bottom, which means that we have one hemisphere, because we have the top part and we have the bottom part right there. So we have a hemisphere plus the lateral, this whole part right here. So the lateral faces of the cylinder. So the lateral of cylinder. The surface area of a hemisphere is 3 pi r squared. The lateral face of the cylinder is going to be pi r squared times height, which is 14. So then we'll plug that in. So our radius is 5, so we have 3 pi 5 squared plus pi 5 squared times 14. 25 times 3 is 75 pi. 25 times 14, I don't know what that is. 25 times 14 is 350. 350 pi plus 75 pi is 425 pi centimeters squared. And then round to the nearest tenth, multiply it. All right, and our last example here, we could say this is a hemisphere, and then the lateral face, and then we have to get rid of the two bases because they're being shared. Or we could say this is one entire sphere plus the lateral face of a cylinder. So we'll say a sphere plus the lateral sides of a cylinder. So a sphere is 4 pi r squared. The lateral face is pi r squared times height. So our radius looks like 4. So 4 pi 4 squared. And our height is 5. 41664 pi plus, what is this, 16, 20, 20 times 4, is that 80? 16 times 5? That looks like 80. I think it's 80. Well, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So this is 114, 124, 124 pi, 144 pi inches squared. All right, and here is your assignment, and I will see you later today. Actually, tomorrow. See you tomorrow.